So, good evening, everybody. I would like to warmly welcome you to our Academy about Fintech ecosystems and partnerships. The goal of the webinar is to talk about current digital topics and to provide practical experience. My name is Roberto Zimmermann, and I'm a managing partner and a member of the managing board of andrion Switzerland. I support various customers on digital projects, and I'm also responsible for partnerships with established Fintech companies. This webinar, this session is recorded on YouTube. This will also be available afterwards. You can watch it. If you have questions during the session, you can ask the questions. We will then ask or give you the answer after each session. One of our speakers or experts, Ravina, she will have to leave earlier, so we will cover her questions directly afterwards. So with me today, as already mentioned quickly, we have Ravina Mutha. She's the co-founder of EnterpriseBot. She's looking after all the corporate relationships for EnterpriseBot. EnterpriseBot is a very fascinating company, and they provide services around chatbots, voice bots, email bots. I'm really looking forward to that session. I'm happy that Ravina and EnterpriseBot is part of this webinar today. The second expert is Martin Stadler. He's the CEO from Altoo. Martin has more than 20 years of experience, international experience as well, at UBS Wealth Management. He had various management roles, client advisor roles for ultra high net worth clients, and so he's representing Altoo. Altoo is providing open wealth solutions, so where families can consolidate, or individual families can consolidate their wealth, and it's in an easy and interactive way. The agenda today, I will have a short presentation about Fintech, about our ecosystem of andrion and Capco, how we partner with the various Fintech partners, and how we do implementation of such projects. Ravina then from EnterpriseBot will explain the features of her tool. She will show us a couple of demos as well, which is really interesting and exciting. And Martin then will follow. He will talk about open wealth and as well show some demos of the open Altoo platform. At the end, there's a quick summary and the Q&A, and so the whole session will last for approximately 1 hour until 6 o'clock. This is the ecosystem. I mean, when you look in Switzerland, there are approximately 400 Fintech companies. This number has steadily increased over the last years. I mean, since 2015, really strong growth. All those, I mean, you can read as well in a study from the EFZ. They do a yearly study on the Fintech market. Many of them are part of providing solutions around investment management or banking infrastructure. This is a selection of our ecosystem at andrion Capco. For example, we work together with Payer. Payer is a Swedish Fintech company. It's one of the top 5 Swedish Fintech companies. They provide services around B2B payments, and one of their use cases or big clients is Volvo, where they provide the platform for all the payments, and they achieve a lot of cost savings. Another one is Gemic. Gemic is already more than 10 years old, so it's really an established company. They have more than 70 banks as their customers. They provide services around e-banking, mobile banking, authentication, and maybe some of you know this nice color code when you log in into e-banking. That's provided by Gemic. Or on the other side, everybody from us uses WhatsApp chat, but as we all know, WhatsApp is not a secure channel for in banking. So Gemic is providing a secure chat, so the advisor can interact with the bank, and in the end as well digitally sign documents. Third Eyes Analytics is another fintech that we work together. They are very strong when it comes to ESG or everything around goal-based investment. Then we have 1PM. 1PM is a partner from us. They provide cloud-based portfolio management systems for fund managers or for external asset managers. And everybody, or many of you might as well know Crealogics. And so we as well have a partnership with them on various topics, and Müller von Weide partner that's on the conversational side on the investment banking space. Today, we will introduce Altoo, an enterprise bot. More to come later here. The customer behavior has really changed. And what we see as well now, especially after the COVID crisis, or still it's going on, unfortunately, the digitization has very much accelerated and speed up. Customers of today, I mean, they expect that their bank provide digital channels. They expect 24 hours, 7 days. They expect simplicity. They expect as well to bank in a safely manner. Especially the millennium generation, the younger generation. I mean, they have different expectations towards their bank. I mean, I'm not a millennium, but I do as well have very much different expectations for my bank to provide digital services. What you can see here is like, I mean, there are different topics coming along. Conversational banking, I mean, it's still early, but this is everything around voice that you interact with the bank, or text, or touch. I mean, so far we have seen some of it just for like card payments, or like you want to know your last transactions. But that's going to more and more as well into complex banking topics like mortgages. I mean, if you, for example, want to extend the mortgages, I mean, you can do this as well in a conversational banking with conversational banking. Investment management will become more and more important. I mean, today we are still having negative interest environment, and we see a lot of digital companies, especially in the investment space, robo-advisors and so on, being very successful in collecting money, and especially on the retail side. Payment is another big topic. I mean, we saw last year that, I mean, Switzerland is still very much a cash-driven nation, but the cash has very much reduced as well. I mean, everybody is using more and more cards, is using apps, Twint, Revolut, all those apps which help in the end to provide payments, instant payments. I mean, this is well what you expect today. I mean, the CEO of Ripple, who's providing the XRP blockchain, once said, I mean, it's easier if you want to carry or send money abroad or overseas from, let's say, from London to San Francisco. It's easier to catch a plane and bring the money over instead of providing it through a bank, which then takes a couple of days. And here it's really the fintechs which come into the game. They play the bridge between like the clients, private clients, corporate clients, and banks with their traditional banking system. I think this is really a chance for banks as well to open up the system and cooperate with the various fintechs. Clients today, I mean, they expect this. And if you are not providing such services, then clients, I mean, it's very easy to move on to a different player who has such services in place. So when you implement a fintech solution, how does this work? I mean, there are basically three parties involved. You have a financial institution, let's say this is a bank who wants to provide chat with their bank customers. So that's what they want. So the fintechs then come into the game. For example, Gemit in this case. And then basically they provide the platform for it. They provide the product. They develop, enhance the product, and in the end, I mean, they are providing it through with licenses or consumption based on that solution or the customers. Besides this, you have integration partners. Let's say it's us with Andrion and Capco. So we are doing the implementation of that solution, of that fintech solution for the bank. We look after the requirements, we look after the process, we look after the IT system, and try really to integrate this into the bank or into the financial institution. From a contract point of view, I mean, it could be like a general contract that we would then work together with the bank, subcontract, for example, the fintechs, or there is another option that you have different contracts, that the fintech itself has a contract with the bank, and then let's say we as an implementation partner have a contract with the bank. I mean, that really depends on the case. The value proposition and how does it work when you try to implement such a solution? I mean, there are basically 3 stages. One is it starts with the presentation itself with the fintech. I mean, maybe somebody has seen a nice presentation like today, that you say, okay, this is really interesting. We should look this solution more. So you have a product presentation. You start to look into first use cases, how this could fit, how this would match. Then what we are doing would be like a pre-study. The pre-study could go 2 to 3 months. I mean, it really depends as well on the client, but it's 2 to 3 months where you try to understand, or we try to understand, like the client needs, what could be the benefits of such a case, then really try to build prototypes, POC, like proof of concepts, and in the end, as a result, to have like a minimal viable product that has already some functionality in place. Pre-projects are really important because they give learnings, or they give you insights on the way ahead. Afterwards, we would start with an integration project. I mean, 6 months is now indicative. I mean, it really depends on the client, on the scope. It could be 6 months, could be less, could be more. That needs to be defined for such a project. And here it's as well the approach would be developed in an agile approach, preferably with Scrum, and as well with Confluence, for example, from Atlassian. You would then take the learnings out of the pre-project, would further analyze client needs, customize it, and try to integrate it into the client or into the IT landscape, train the users, and afterwards doing the hypercare of that and continuously develop that solution. So I'm now at the end of my very short presentation, and I'm now really excited to hand over to Ravina from Enterprise Bot. She will tell us everything about Enterprise Bot and show us some good, fantastic demo cases. Please feel free to ask questions, so then Ravina and we can ask them. So I'm handing over.
So thanks a lot, Roberto. I'm just assuming right now that you can see my screen perfectly. All right. So thank you everyone for your time. I'm super excited to tell you a bit about Enterprise Bot today. So just to give you a brief background, we are a Swiss startup that's founded in 2017, and we offer conversational virtual assistants. We basically use proprietary technology that's kind of inbuilt. So this gives us also the flexibility to host solutions on-premise, for example, or in private clouds. We're really proud that 95% of our customers are actually satisfied with our service. Our chatbots and all our products are at an average accuracy of over 85%, and we're often able to have over 75% of automation. So just to give you a little bit of a sense of who we work with, you might be familiar with some of the logos up here. So we work quite a bit with Six Group, for example. We really do focus on financial services and insurances, especially as an industry. And the reason for that focus is that we have very strong data sets in here that gives us the high accuracy to work with these companies. So the idea is for us to always start with a small use case for one of these large corporates, and then to really scale it up. So to give you an example of Generali, for example, we started with a small email bot, and now we're working on an omni-channel project with them. So you can actually chat with some of our bots. They're live, like on Suica, on SBB. You can chat with them in multiple languages. So what are the common pain points? Like when you look at large financial services institutions, as a bank or as a large institution, you're paying so much to get customer service, and at the same time you have reduced ROI, you have poor employee engagement and retention. And the most annoying problem is that usually the common questions that come in, like 80% of them are only like 40 to 45 questions. So why not automate them? Because on the other side, you have customer pain points, which are usually just super long waiting times, which is of course costing you a lot as an enterprise. And there's also just so much frustration in trying to find the right information in just a few seconds. The idea for us as Enterprise Bot is to not only be present as a basic FAQ bot on a chat channel, but to really help you with an omni-channel strategy. And what I mean by that is that you can be on more sophisticated chat channels, whether it's Skype for Business, whether it's Teams, whether it's even WhatsApp, but you can also use our email automation. And the email automation works a bit differently from chat because that's something that's really embedded with your email servers. The text tends to be much longer. So of course, the natural language processing is more complex. And it's really beautiful because you don't have to necessarily respond to the end customer directly. You can also set it up so that if the machine learning threshold is at a certain point, you can actually just have a response template for the agent to approve. I don't know why it switched on its own. In terms of use cases, you can have both internal as well as external use cases. So our clients can either go for example, HR automation or an IT help desk use case, especially in the case that it's a very large enterprise that doesn't necessarily want to start with a customer-facing use case. You can start with one of those and then scale it up to kind of our favorite use case, which is really customer service and sales, because this is where you see the most amount of actual savings and operational efficiency. The idea for us is to really be able to get enterprises to build meaningful relationships with your customers. And by that, I mean, you can have, as a bank, for example, the chatbot take care of your payments, check your balance, it can authenticate the user. It needs to go one step beyond just FAQs. And the idea always is to talk to your customers 24/7 at the channel that they want and in the language that they are comfortable with. You have to say bye to traditional IVRs, no more pressing 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, God knows what button on the phone. So if you look at conversational banking via chat, you can see that the UI can be completely customized. The chatbot, unlike me, can speak fluent Swiss German even, so it's available in multiple languages. You can have all different types of carousels and whatnot, so you have complete control over the front end. You can see that the chatbot is also able to actually authenticate the customer. You're able to have a 2FA as well. You can also use existing authentication if you have it, so that we don't have to save any of your credentials. You can also have, for example, PDF documents embedded within the chat. For us, the idea to have a really good user experience is that you always have to give the response within the chat window so that the customer is not frustrated. And the best part of this all is that if the chatbot can't handle a certain question, because it is going to happen that AI is not perfect, you can actually seamlessly, as you saw, in a couple of seconds, just have a customer service agent walk in. So you can do this either automatically based on certain scenarios, or you can even have agents monitor the chat and step in when they feel it's necessary. So this is kind of, our hybrid chat approach. So the idea is that it should be super seamless. The agent should always have the full context of the entire conversation, and you should have a sentiment analysis, which means that if your customer is getting frustrated, if, for example, the bot is not understanding what the user says, or if the user is just not satisfied that they have to talk to a robot, it needs to be smart enough to really identify that and say, I'm sorry you feel this way. Let me transfer you to a real person. Of course, all of this would be completely, not adequate if you didn't have a way to actually track the performance of your bot. So we have very sophisticated dashboards. You can, of course, use our proprietary dashboards, or you can also connect with existing analytics tools, whether it's a Microsoft Business Intelligence or any other system that you prefer. The idea is that you should be able to measure the bot and deploy continuous improvements. The idea is also to compare agent and bot performance to upskill the bot. So we even have, for example, a section called unhandled requests. One of the big problems that enterprises have is in actually retraining the bot and making it more intelligent. So to make this easier for agents in the maintenance phase, we actually put in all of the questions that the bot doesn't understand in one single bucket, so it's easy. And then I've spoken a bit about the email bot, but the idea is that you should be able to do a triage where the bot can actually send the email to the right department, to the right person at an accuracy of over 85%, like with Generali, for example, our accuracy is over 90%. And the idea is that you should be able to really reduce the end response time to your customers. So this is what kind of our email bot system looks like. There's very advanced entity extraction as well. To kind of, complete it and really go into hyper automation mode, what we've built in-house is a tool called Blitzico. And this is where you can actually have very advanced process integrations along with the conversational AI. So this way, instead of just answering basic FAQ questions, you can actually map out and connect all of these, even legacy systems to your chatbot so that they can completely automate the process. So now I get to kind of the interesting part and the part that I'm a bit nervous about, which is our live voice bot demo. So I will just pray here that everything works as planned, and I'm just going to quickly dial in a number. What I will also show you is kind of this database in the backend. So this is just an Airtable database, and you'll be able to basically see how the information changes. For example, when I change my address, when I talk to the bot, you can see it change live. So it's really not a mock-up, it's a live demo. So here I go.
Welcome to Enterprise Bank's chat service. My name is Sophie. How can I help you?
I'd like to change my address, please.
For security reasons, I have to ask you a few questions. What is your name?
Ravina Mutha.
What is your date of birth?
December 21st, 1990.
Welcome, Ravina. What is your new address?
It's 515 Flower Street in LA.
Excellent. We have entered this change. Can I help you with anything else?
Can you check my expenses for last month?
In total, you have spent $1,858 and 45 cents last month. Would you like a breakdown of all your expenses?
Yes, please.
The following are your expenses in detail. Food, $152 and 25 cents. Household expenses, $47 and 50 cents. Travel, $1,632 and 80 cents. Board games, $25 and 90 cents.
Okay, that's probably too much traveling.
Got it. Let's set a budget for your expenses on travel. What should the monthly limit be?
Let's say $200.
Perfect. I have set a limit of $200 for your monthly expenses on travel, and I will send you an alert to make sure you don't overspend. What else can I help you with?
That's all, thanks.
I'm always happy to help.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, and have a nice evening.
Yeah, so that was our little voice demo. And now I'm happy to hand over to Roberto and take any questions that you may have.
Thanks a lot, Ravina. That was really impressive, your demonstration. I mean, especially with the voice. It's always, I mean, we always hope it works in such a demo, because you then sometimes have a demo effect, but congratulations, very well done. There's one question, and the question is really, I mean, you are doing a lot of your development out of India, right? As we understand. I mean, why you decided to come to Switzerland? I mean, what was the trigger to build enterprise spot or founded here in Switzerland?
Yep, thank you for the question. It's always an interesting one that I usually get. So basically, we started the company as we got accepted into the Startup Bootcamp Accelerator, which was in London. And following that, at the same time, we got accepted into F10 in Zurich. And let's say as soon as we got into the F10, within the first 3 to 6 months, we were able to sign on commercial contracts with SIX, with PwC, and with Generali. And so it was really just kind of a natural move to be in Switzerland. And even today, like all of our data, our sales, our operations happen in Europe, mostly in Switzerland. And the part that's actually in India, which is one of our co-founders is in Bangalore, who's our CTO. That's really the development of the platform itself. So that way we can also take care of GDPR and those things.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Basically, there are no other questions. I think, as I understand, Ravina, you have to move on. I mean,
yes.
Thanks a lot. Very appreciated that you joined this session, and we are very much looking forward to working together on a couple of nice projects. So thanks a lot again, Ravina.
Super interested. Thanks a lot for having me, and apologies that I have to leave early.
Great. Then we come to the next session, and that's with Martin from Altoo as well. Really exciting. He will talk about open wealth and as well show some of the demo cases. So now with the handover. So Martin, you should now be in control. So thanks a lot for joining as well.
Yeah, grüezi miteinander. Hello from my side. It's a pleasure to be today on this webinar, and it's a pleasure to present the Altoo use case of open banking today. As mentioned by Roberto, we are a Swiss company based in Zug with 24 employees, and we have been developing over the last 4 years the Altoo wealth platform. And it's actually a very good use case how the future of wealth management may look like. You should see now my screen. So the Altoo wealth platform itself is a technology which aggregates total wealth for very wealthy persons or their single family offices. So the Altoo wealth platform is connected to the custodian banks. So what happened yesterday at UBS, Julius Baer, or Credit Suisse, the client sees today on our platform. So if you want to see the total liquidity position as an example, you don't need to log in anymore in 3 different e-bankings. You have on one click, one aggregation from all the banks. In addition, the platform aggregates as well all the non-bankables, maybe real estate, private equity, or your collection of art. For ourselves, the platform was built together with our clients from day one. As mentioned, I used to be 20 years with UBS. So I do have a déformation professionnelle. So therefore, if I would have just focused on what my experience was, how I thought a digital platform for showing wealth would look like, then it would be very similar to other e-bankings. But at Altoo, we've been asking our clients from day one, what do you need to keep track and control for total wealth, and how shall it look like? And therefore, I will show it live afterwards in the demo. The Altoo Wealth platform is coming up with quite an intuitive and modern design, which has definitely the handwriting of our clients. Second, security Swiss engineered. We are a Swiss company. We have our own hardware for our private cloud solution. All data is in Switzerland. That helped us to win clients already from 14 different countries. And with clients, we mean on one side B2C, so we have direct wealthy private individuals contracting with us, but on the other side we have as well B2B, multi-family offices or private bank who use us in white labeling as their digital front end to service their private banking clients. So what do we currently see in the value chain of wealth management? When I started at UBS 20 years ago, it was clear we are one-stop shop. We want to have share of wallet. We want to have the largest amount of assets of the client that we can get. Most probably, we want to reach 100%. But this has changed. It has changed from a one-stop shop to best of class. And this change has been driven mainly as well by digitalization. So what has been the topics there? First of all, everybody from us, we are able now to access information and as well education on financial matters in a quite an easy way. Yes, we can Google which one is the best ETF for US stocks. We'll find an answer. Second, new providers focusing on one expertise. If we currently look on our mobile phone, how many financial activities app or financial service provider app do you have? Yes, it's not just only one bank. Most of us have 4 or 5 different apps, and therefore 1 or 2 fintechs focusing on one special need. So let's take Revolut as an example. Yes, it's only a credit card, but the user experience for this credit card and as well the fees that they are charged on the transaction are outstanding. And therefore, if one of us is traveling to foreign countries and using quite a lot of foreign currencies, Revolut has solved the problem. And last but not least, if we are talking then to many different service providers, nonetheless, we want to have somehow the overview to track and control on the total of our wealth activities. And here, especially for Altoo, we have to say our main competitor is the Excel spreadsheet, where one has done that manually once a week or once a month, whereas now with kind of asset aggregation tool, you can do that in an automated way. So therefore, these 3 pillars have led to a best of class approach. And as it is, as soon as you do best of class, you are asking as well, am I really situated in the right way? Do I have the right service provider for the right topics? So therefore, independent advice is definitely something a client might come up and ask his financial service provider. So therefore, with this shift from one-stop shop to best of class, we see as well that this aggregation in the value chain of wealth management. And with that, traditional revenue stream in private banking are quite a lot under pressure. So the first revenue stream that you have normally or traditionally there was infrastructure. So a bank was charging for custody, trading, payment, cards, etc., etc. But we all know that with the Robin Hood of this world or credit card services like Revolut, revenues in this infrastructure pillar for private banking are definitely going south. The second pillar is product, asset under management. So whether it's discretionary products, funds, or structured product, of course, a private bank earns if a client invests in product. I think this is still a very steady revenue stream, but with clients getting more and more professional, with regulation like MiFID, where a client is forced to show as well the hidden costs, the prices and the margins there come under pressure as well. So if we have 2 streams which come under pressure, there is an important third stream where private banks are currently building up their offering, which is advice. In former times, advice was for free because it was subsidized by the first 2 pillars. But now in today's world, one expects the client to pay as well for advice. And that's not always easy to do, especially if you have a conflict of interest because you still sell product or because you still charge for the infrastructure. So therefore, it's a question mark whether a traditional player in the wealth management industry is really able to charge for advice as long as he has this conflict of interest. So what is all about now the holistic wealth advice is as well that one understands that a client with wealth acts in an ecosystem. So the bank is never playing a single role. The bank is always cooperating with a network of different service providers that a client already has for different aspects of advice. Yes, he will need a tax advisor. Yes, he will have an advisor for his real estate activities separately. So therefore, he has an ecosystem for his wealth needs. And therefore, the question is, what is the value proposition now for private banking? Are you the director of the orchestra? Are you the one which can differentiating yourself by giving the client a holistic wealth advice on strategic asset allocation, on tactical asset allocation, and a network to connect him with the right expertise and the right partners outside of the banking industry? So this is exactly what we see by talking to private banks and multifamily offices with our technology. Because the Altoo Wealth platform shifts now from a traditional e-banking, where you just see the assets held with the bank, to a holistic wealth approach. So the client gets a white labeled solution where he's able to aggregate the 2-3 banks that he has, the real estate activities with the mortgages, but as well non-bankable assets such as private equity or collection of art. So I would like to show you now live how this technology looks like in a daily mode. You should see now the Altoo Wealth platform. So this is exactly the service, the technology our clients are currently using with our firm. It's about simplicity for complex wealth, because we don't expect somebody having 10, 20 or 50 million being a professional. So therefore, design-wise, as said, we've been asking our clients, what do you want to see? And we are moving away from traditional design of asset statements into visualization, or as well even writing sentences like, welcome back, your current net wealth is 30.2 million, or your net wealth has increased by 1.8 million year to date, resulting from performance and net cash flow. And of course, a chart visualization helps as well, that here in January he was then quickly in a negative area, or then by today he's plus 6.6%. The client has on the top right corner something like a time machine. So he's now just seeing year to date, but if you want to review the last year, 2020, one click, everything is updated. So we see due to the market correction in COVID, he was once down in worst 11.2%, but in December then he managed to reach positive territory again. This wealth dashboard, which the client has updated on a daily basis because we are connected to the custodian bank. We have now connectivity to 53 different custodian bank. So what happens yesterday on Credit Suisse, on Julius Baer, the client sees today on our platform. With this aggregation of the bankable asset side, he has as well daily updated his asset allocation on bankable and non-bankable, currency or sector allocation, and he has a dashboard on his highest and lowest performers. We are still on the year 2020, so last year the Julius Baer mandate was the best one, performing positively 3.3%, whereas the Credit Suisse fixed income portfolio was an underperformer then in this perspective. He sees as well the same on asset class, on single investment. So if you want to know now, hey, during COVID, which share was then the biggest casualty? The COVID market correction started end of February, and I would say in May, we've been back to normal market territory. So one click, in this second, everything is recalculated, and he sees that Avis, Allianz, Sonova, and Pemex was the ones correcting the most in his portfolio. From this screen, he can deep dive to all kind of perspective. So if he sees now, hey, equity was the second worst asset class during the COVID correction, I want to see which shares have been a good or bad performer. He's now one level lower, where he sees the performance for each individual stock. Of course, the more red, the more it was problematic during this market correction. He can look at it as well in a traditional view, like in a traditional e-banking in a list form. But we have as well another visualization, which we call the bubble view. What he sees here is the performance in Swiss franc of every investment out of the asset class equity. So every single bubble is one investment, Royal Dutch minus 16,000. On the right side, the best performer, Hermes, now during this difficult market time. And on the left side, the biggest construction site, Allianz, Sonova, and Swiss Life, which have corrected the most during COVID. So you see already this kind of interaction that the client can change here, all kind of views himself. Let's go back to year to date. It's very intuitive. The client finds his way either on his laptop, on his iPad, or as well on the mobile app. We can switch here as well from a single investment view to a portfolio view. So this client has now 4 portfolios, Vontobel, Credit Suisse, UBS, and Julius Baer. And given the fact that we are calculating the performance as well ourselves, he can compare daily which of his asset manager have had a better performance than the other. So that was now the bankable view, but one has to say our clients love our infrastructure as well, our technology, because of the non-bankable assets. If I switch here first to a balance sheet view, he sees his assets and his liabilities. He sees that real estate is one of the larger investments that he has, financed by mortgages, and he sees the total leverage. He can click again on everything. Here we see lifestyle assets. So maybe for his Mercedes-Benz, he doesn't like to see the chart, but as it is a passionate asset as well, he would like to see the pictures. The same goes as well for real estate investment, everything which is tangible. Clients, of course, have quite a lot of emotions. If we go into one of these assets, he sees then, now we are year to date, let's take the since inception performance, the performance based on unrealized profit, where he can update the valuation himself, but he has as well his real estate connected to the lease income. So every lease that comes in on the Zürcher Kantonalbank private account, or all expenses that he has paid there are aggregated. So I see perfectly well whether it's cash flow positive or cash flow negative. At every asset, he's able to upload documents. So if I'm looking for the purchase contract, I'll find it at the right place. And last but not least, I can enable my assets to think and speak. So the client has a monitoring feature. So whatever he usually checks manually, like does my Zürcher Kantonalbank account has enough cash, or is my Julius Baer account not below -8%? He can put on every data point at Altoo these kind of rules. As long as the mobile phone is silent, everything is perfect. As soon as he gets a monitoring alert, he knows now I better call my advisor or my private banker. So this is the way that Altoo aggregates and Altoo visualize wealth data. And of course, if you have this holistic wealth data for a client, you can start then as a private banker as well to give holistic wealth advice. And of course, this advice comes then on a very different level. If the advice comes on a different level, the private bank will be as well able to charge for this kind of services. So with that, I would like to hand over back to Roberto, and I'm available as well for questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Martin. That was really impressive. I liked it a lot, especially as well the easy visualization of the charts, where you can easily see how your portfolio is really put together. So really very, very good. There's one question which came up. I mean, Fintechs and as well Altoo, I mean, are seen sometimes as competitors to banks. I mean, the question is, I mean, how do you work together with the banks?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. When we started Altoo, of course, the banks were looking at us and thought we are a little threat for them. Because 4 or 5 years ago, yes, open banking was not yet there, and people didn't yet think about what are the value proposition or the business model I can do with open banking. So in the meantime, they saw that we have more and more very large clients using us for providing them a simpler overview on their total wealth. And of course, as it is, if you have large clients, they are as well important clients for the bank, strategic importance as well. So that helped us to be as well a sparring partner for the banks, being invited by the C-levels to present what the future of wealth management could look like. So therefore, instead of being a competitor, we are now partner. We have, as I said, connectivity with 53 different custodian banks. I would never have imagined that we achieved that in only 4 years. And we are partnering up with the banks in white labeling in our solution for private banking services, but as well in being an approved service provider, like for Credit Suisse, Julius Baer. So these client advisors are allowed to give their clients us as a potential solution, a referral. So therefore, cooperation is really very good. And it shows as well that fintechs and traditional banks can cooperate in a perfect way for one purpose: increase client experience. And I would say speeding up how the service or the technology for private banking looks like goes much faster if one is not reinventing the wheel, but showing out in the market who is doing what kind of services, how to increase as well the value proposition by connecting the dots or by combining technologies.
Okay, there's some more questions coming in. So one of the questions as well, I mean, how do you store all the authentication information?
So first of all, we run everything on our own infrastructure. The Altoo story has started as a buyout of a distressed asset from a former fintech bank called Flint. So therefore, the infrastructure that we have on premise, our hardware, is the one which was once approved by FINMA with a banking license. In terms of authentication, we have 3 factors. As we have really lots of data on our Altoo Wealth platform, it's the full wealth situation with all the documents. we have one authentication factor more than a traditional bank. So the first factor is a security certificate installed on an iPad or laptop. So you can only log in on the platform once you are using a hardware which is hard-coded with certificate. Therefore, as well, the Altoo page doesn't have a login button. So we are a house without windows and doors. If somebody would like to break in or hack, they don't even know where to start. Second, we have an app with a QR code. And third, the client has a password. But we will be ready as well for any open ID provider. So if a bank has already an e-banking authentication, which is ready to be shared with a third-party provider, we can connect on that one as well.
Okay, thank you. There's another question coming in, okay, Min, which is asking me, are the updates done by request or is it done at the end of the day at Altoo?
The update of the data, I guess, is the question of this one. So we are getting once a day the data delivered from the banks. Because most of the banks have this, how we call it in German, Tagesendverarbeitung, end of day processing of the data. We usually get the data package of a bank around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And this data package always contains all current account movements, all securities transactions with all the fees that have been charged, and end of day positions on the current account and the custody account. So with that, with this package, we are doing the securities accounting and the reconciling data quality. I mean, as soon as the client is doing an exotic option, maybe this one doesn't come through the API just in a standardized way. So data quality usually is at 95%. So from time to time, we have to do some manual reconciling as well.
Okay. So I think there's no more question coming in. So then we are all well going to the end of this session. I mean, I would like to thank you, Martin from Altoo, for the presentation. And I mean, Ravina has already gone, but thanks a lot to both of you for having the presentation and to have you here on stage. I think it was very interesting and fascinating to see with real cases where the fintech industry is going to. I mean, what's for sure is fintech is going to stay and it's not going to disappear. So that's for sure. It's going to shape as well the banking landscape. I would like to thank all the participants who were taking part of this webinar session. This webinar, as I said at the beginning, will be available on the YouTube channel. The presentation as well itself can be ordered afterwards if wished. In case you have questions or so, then as well reach out to us. Feel free to contact me, to contact Martin, to contact Ravina from those companies. And so we come to the end. So I would really like to thank you again, and I wish you all a good evening. And I hope to see you soon, especially in these times. Stay healthy. Thank you a lot.